The Focused Warrior Podcast, John and Aaron coming at you, brother,
Yeah, bro.
brother. How you doing, man?
Doing all right, man. We're doing all right. How you doing? What's going on in your world in the Colorado, boy?
Bro, except for the fact that we got close to, I want to say I looked at some numbers over a 3 day span, bro. We got close to like 80 inches of snow. And I'm not joking here, dude. I'm not
What's
exaggerating. Real talk. Some serious heavy snow came down the last 3 days, bro. So my
80
back's a little
inches?
bit.
What's that in feet? 80 inches. What's that in feet? That's like zero point 0.8 meters. That's nearly a meter of snow. So that's like
It's ridiculous, bro.
3 feet, 4 foot of snow or some shit. Dude,
Yes.
fuck that.
Yeah.
Seriously. Let's just get into the
So
explicit straight away. Fuck, I couldn't
I
do
know
that.
happy. I know you're happy out there, bro, that the sun is shining and it's hot.
It is hot, like 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around about like anywhere between 27, 30 degrees, kind of like every day. So, dude, living it
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like
But
10.
outside of that, man, things are good over here, brother. Things
Okay,
are good.
that's awesome.
Love it.
I know we've got a pretty cool conversation coming. I mean, you have a look at how we've been living our lives these last couple of weeks, and naturally, if you listen to our last podcast or second podcast 2 weeks ago, it was in honor of Jaden. So that was a pretty special podcast that was said. So how are you feeling after that, man?
Bro, I can't tell you how full my heart is, bro. That week was so special, and it had everything in it. You know, it had laughter, it had tears, it had so many emotions, it had so many stories. You know, it was really, really cool to see the people show up that did. And, just it makes it so awesome, bro. It really does. And, so the topic I want to bring up, bro, today is just, it's something that, when we were talking about this a little bit earlier, a lot of us spend so much space. We let a lot of time go, wasting it on what's going to happen. How am I going to feel on this day?
Mm,
When this day finally gets here, how am I going to feel? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Am I going to be crying all day? Am I going to be laughing all day? And that was the lead up, bro, that whole week. It was crazy. And
yeah, man, I felt it. Like when we had that podcast, I felt it. And naturally, I was we follow each other quite closely on social media and seeing what you were posting as well. Look, I felt it all. I felt the pain, but also I felt I think the celebration as well. Naturally celebrating Jaden's life, and highlighting what you were saying is that we always go back to we have to be staying in that present moment.
yeah,
Present moment, as in, what's present mean? It's a gift. Like if we stay in the gift of the present moment, then we tend to not worry about obviously the things that have happened up till that point. We no longer have the anxiety of what's to come, so we actually really stay in the moment of where we're at and embrace all those emotions and feelings that are going on at that time. So yeah, I think with everything that's happened from there leading up to obviously the day, then the celebration. Now, like for you and your family, I think what's been the last 2 weeks? You got a pretty cool celebration coming up. You and the wife are going for a cheeky little holiday to Vegas in next week, which is really awesome. So yeah, the family, like obviously in that day, what was it like a few days after? Was it still in like I wouldn't even say sadness. Was it still in the remembrance of the day, or had you guys gone, nah, now we need to again all about legacy? Like where was your mindset?
I think once you get past the day, man, and this is what I would love to title this today is it was okay. It's going to be okay. And I keep replaying that in my head, man, because a lot of times you don't realize until after you're coming out of the storm that you were okay.
Mm,
You made it through. You got through what you needed to get. So I think that after that, because this was on a Wednesday, so Thursday and Friday, you're going, man, wow. And all I did, man, was I just kept replaying the very cool part, which was the indoor skydiving, the very cool part of going to dinner and having 16 people with us that were all there for one reason.
mm,
It
mm,
was so cool, man. And so I couldn't get past that other than the fact of saying it was okay. We did it. We got through it. Now, again, it doesn't mean that the days are just all of a sudden, great and every day's fine. It's not that. Aaron, it's just that you know that it's going to be okay. And so anything that gets thrown at you, yeah, where it might suck or it might be great, you're still okay. So that's what I want to talk about today, man. In our podcast today, I really want to talk about why we get ourselves so worked up and how do we get ourselves to that level point of being like, it's okay. So I want to hear from you, bro, on that. Has that happened to you before?
Oh, fuck yeah, all the time. Fuck all the time. I think that's the stories I have in my own head. Um, and then I've got to remind myself to be in the present moment, that in this moment right here, right now, everything is okay. But then we like for me, I have a look at going, okay, well, what do I want my life to look like? And why the fuck aren't I there yet?
Mhm.
So I look at it, and that's the thing that gets me all lost, is that I've done all these things to help me get to where I am now, but I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. So I'm like, what the fuck is it? So I think I get lost in that, in that space. But then if I have a look at the things that haven't gone well, and I have a look at the circumstances that I've put myself in, you know what? And I say this all the time. I say it to my clients. I even put a reel out there to remind myself is that everything that I have done up to this point has got me to where I am. Now,
Wow.
I need to own the shit that, hey, if you don't like where you're at, then it's still a byproduct of all the things that you either have or haven't done up to this point. You've either done a lot of shitty things, that means you're going to be in a shitty situation, or you've done a whole heap of good things to get to where you are, but you're nowhere near where you want to be. So for me, I look at going in my current circumstances of, moving from the Gold Coast to come up to the Sunshine Coast, and to even find a place to live. Up here, the rental market is tough, but you'll get a place if you're the right candidate. Problem is, the right candidate needs to be that you need to be earning a certain amount and you need to have employment. Like I'm a sole trader, and they don't look at sole traders kindly. So, for me to be able to justify my income, they don't like that hard work. Real estate agents don't like that hard work. They just want to see your pay slips. How much are you getting? Cool. Is 30% of your total income? Can you afford rent on that? Yep, no problem. You're a good candidate. Whereas when you're a
Mm.
sole trader, you give them bank statements. We don't do invoice. You do transfers only. We don't actually have pay slips. So you've got to give bank statements to a real estate agent. And they fucking hate that. It means they have to do
Yeah.
work. So for me, it's like that problem of, finding my own place. All right, that was difficult. Cool. Now I have to fucking live with someone. And I can't stand living with anyone. I need my own space. And I'm like, fuck. But then on the flip side of it is that I'm in this cool spot. It's actually a resort. There's it literally is called Blue Water Resort, in the Sunshine Coast. So I've got a really cool, two-bedroom apartment that I'm actually sharing with someone. That person's actually gone away for a couple of weeks, which is cool. Got the whole place to myself, but still, it's not my place. And for 3 years leading up till today, I haven't been able to, call a place home. I haven't been able to not live out of my suitcase for the last 3 years. So ever since
Mm.
moving from Melbourne to, the Gold Coast, I've been living out of my suitcase. I haven't been able to put my clothes away. I haven't been able to call a place home. So then coming up here, I still can't call a place home. So there's that. And then also and then when you are in the personal training game and you're going from one club to the next, you essentially have to start your business all over again. So I'm like, holy fuck. So you kind of look at, you're not in the environment that you want to be. Money is, you don't have employment. Essentially, you've got to start a business all over again. And we all know how hard it is to establish a business and start a business. So we all know how hard that is. So yeah, I've like the way that I'm feeling at the moment, I'm I've got a lot of pressure on me. I've got a lot of stress on me. Life doesn't stop. Bills don't stop. Just because of your circumstances, you still got to pay bills, you still got to survive. You still got rent to pay. You got all of these commitments that do not stop. So it's like I've got all of that. And for me, I've got to be really careful not to get ahead of myself and look at the things that I can't control, well, that I'm not able to control, which is that, well, I'm not able to control paying for something that I don't have money for. So, well, what do I need to do? If I can focus on what you need to focus on with get money. And yeah, so it's a fucking interesting dynamic, bro. But look, to your point before, If I do all the things that I know I need to do with putting in the hard work, everything will be okay.
Yeah, bro. I was just gonna say, man. I mean, imagine everything you just told me there, and then the one-liner response was, "Hey, Aaron, it'll be okay."
Yeah.
How would you take that, bro? I mean, that's the thing. When you hear that from people, how do you absorb that? Do you absorb that in a positive way, or do you go, they didn't listen to anything I just said?
You know what? It's a hard one. This is where the conversation and the debate you're having in your own head. You're going, yeah, some of you will look at it and, or for me, let's look at me as a personal example. In the past, I'll just go, but I can't see it. I can't see it getting easy. I can't see it's going to be okay because it's so fucking hard right now. So that's where you're blinded by, not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas if you also have a look at all the things that have been tough in your life, how have they worked out? They've always worked out.
Mm.
Every single one of them, they've always worked out. And there are going to be some times where the pain's always still going to be there, but you can deal with the pain, and you get to a point where the pain no longer controls you. So that's where then you just find yourself again. And it's really important, really, really fucking important to try and focus here, focus, if you're not watching us on YouTube, I'm actually putting my hand on my heart. And what you need to do is you actually need to start listening to yourself, listen to your heart, listen to that voice. We all fucking have it. We all have that guidance. We'll have the voice, call it a higher self, call it God, call it Allah, call it whatever you like. But we all have it in a voice that is guiding us in a good place and in a good way and guiding us with love. If you can tune into that, um, then all of a sudden you'll start finding that motivation and inspiration to take that one more step, you know, another day, another rep, take that next step. And I think for me that really goes into that, yeah, I'm in a shitty situation right now. Absolutely not fucking ideal. But what can I do and what can I control? I can control whether I take that next step or not. And I've just got to be mindful that everything will be okay as long as I do the hard work. And fuck, I even had this conversation with me earlier today that, yeah, I've been in the fitness game for 30 years, but the landscape, the world is a very, very different place to what it was 20, 30 years ago. And it's constantly changing and it's changing very, very fast. And the hardest thing for us is that, if you're complacent or if you find rhythm and you stay in that rhythm at some point, that rhythm's going to change because the world's changing and you need to adapt and you have to be able to change. And that's the one consistent, the one consistent is change and you have to be adaptable. You have to move with the time. So yeah, it's a really interesting conversation that we always have because I think at the end of the day, we all look at our life and put your hand on your heart and ask yourself, are you truly happy with where you're at in life, with everything that you have around you, and not only within yourself? Are you truly happy with yourself as well? And the hardest thing is to actually, be honest with ourselves to be able to make those changes and to be able to do the things that we know we need to do that are going to fuel our soul and help us achieve what we want in life. Because again, there's the external chatter, the the negativity that we're going to have around us, whether it be roadblocks, whether it be just life, and there's always going to be a hurdle. But how do you overcome that? How do you stay true to yourself to keep moving forward?
Yeah, bro. And I think part of that too, man, is not necessarily, repeating certain meditations or, journaling or things like that, right? Those are all great. Those
Mm,
are all really great. But I think the biggest part of this, Aaron, is belief. When you say that stuff, you have to really believe it because there's this sense, bro, that you can be lying to yourself when you say it'll be okay. You could be actually lying to yourself, and that's scary.
mm,
You could truly say, here's my goal, here's what I want to do with my life, and be lying. You know you're lying to yourself, but you're putting it out there like it's a manifestation. But meanwhile, you really don't believe it. So there's a level of belief that I want to say there first. You say it's going to be okay, and you have that conversation with yourself. You have to believe it.
mm.
You have to truly believe yourself because you can go on a false rant and tell, whether it's your friends, your spouse, whoever it is, hey, I'm going to be fine. Hey, by this time next year, I want to do this. That's great. That's fantastic. I think you should 100% put that into the universe. But if you don't believe it, if there's nothing behind it other than some empty words,
Yep.
bro, you're hurting yourself more than you're helping. And there's two other quotes that I heard this week, bro, that I want to share with you. One of them goes exactly along with what we're talking about here. This too shall pass. So, one of the video that I was watching, it was Tom Hanks actually, and he's saying there's two parts to this, right? This too shall pass, meaning when you're down in the dumps, you're frustrated, you're miserable, you're not in the right place, you're not in the right job, you're not in the right. Just wait. This too shall pass. You feel great. You feel like you got it all under control. You feel like everybody gets you, they understand you. This too shall pass.
Hmm.
So, bro, and it just goes, the line that I take out of that, man, is time. And he says it best. He says, time is your ally. You just have to be calm in these moments and make sure that you're doing what you have to. So I had to bring him into the mix because that was a super inspiring video. And then the other video I watched was another podcast, and this lady said, what you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yep.
So, bro, those two are this week's, lessons for me that I want to share on this pod, along with just full on belief. If you don't believe it, stop saying it, because
Yep.
now you're just hurting yourself by self-sabotaging, saying things that you don't really believe or you mean. It's like anything else, bro. If you don't really believe you're worthy of X amount of dollars in your bank account, guess what you're going to always do? You can say it a million times over about how great you are and how much money you're going to eventually achieve, but you'll always push it away because you're not worthy of it. You don't feel like you're worthy, so therefore you don't believe it. So that's what I would offer in this situation, brother.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I love it that you're saying that if you don't truly believe it, you're lying to yourself, and you're just what you're doing is you're putting out there to the universe a falsehood. You're actually putting out there what you truly think, and you're saying it's going to be okay. But if you're truly that subconscious is thinking that it's not going to be okay, guess what you're putting out there? It's a conversation you have with yourself at the same time. So yeah, I would definitely be really wary about how we talk to ourselves. And that's have to be. I think you know playing the singles game that's when you truly find out who you are when you're single, or
Yes.
you're alone. And it's awesome to have people in your corner and to have a partner. But if it's having a partner just for the sake of having a partner, then they're never going to push you. They're never going to challenge you on a level that you need to be challenged. And you've got a wife, I've got a partner, and they're our mirror. They're going to trigger us. They're going to trigger the fuck out of us. And I kind of like that to a degree. I like it because if I'm not going to get triggered there, then what that doesn't do to me, if I'm not getting triggered, then I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to see things a
Right.
little bit differently. So I love it that it all goes back to action. It all goes back to be careful about what you're saying to yourself. But we're going to leave it at those quotes that you got from Tom Hanks in that podcast. I think that's a really nice way to finish it off.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. And like you say, I'll land it by just saying that. But at the same time, to your point, I mean, we've done podcasts on self-sabotage. We've done a lot of podcasts, you and I, for a little more than a year now. And I just think it's so cool because at the end of the day, man, I like talking like this, Aaron, because it reiterates what I stand for, what you stand for. And it's a gentle reminder for us to go, hey, if we're putting it out there in a podcast, we better make sure that we're practicing that. So I just love it, dude, because it keeps you around the fire, and that's really where I'll leave it here, man. But this one was good as well, and I definitely appreciate us having this conversation, bro.
Oh,
Especially a
always.
week removed out of celebrating Jaden. It's definitely worthy of noting that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think also puts a little bit more highlight on legacy for our own legacies, but also the legacy of people that we want to continue on for them on their behalf. I think that's really, really special. And shout out to Jaden. How you going, brother? I hope everything is good for you. I know it is. But guys, thank you very much. There you have it. Another episode down with Focused Warrior podcast that Aaron and John experience. I think that is definitely something that we can all take heed. But hey, look, if anyone has any questions, if anyone wants to even ask us, like what's going on in our lives, and let's just have a conversation. We do have the Focus Warrior community. So search for either John or myself on Facebook, Instagram. We're all on socials. John's on LinkedIn. John's actually a star on LinkedIn. So if you want to jump on there, he's on there. So guys, thank you so much, John. Appreciate your stud. And until next week, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you as well. Thanks, everybody. And until next time, take care.